Rwanda ruzira ruswa n'akarengane mu cyerekezo 2050. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. Primary and secondary school teachers are said to benefit from a new salary increment scheme announced by the government. There is a need for over 500 buses to help end public transport woes in the city of Kigali. The East African Community has announced the appointment of Tanzania's former president, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, to lead its observer group for Kenya's upcoming general elections. Welcome back. Now news in detail. Primary and secondary school teachers are said to benefit from a new salary increment scheme announced by the government today, which will see salaries of primary school teachers increased by about 88%. The move was announced by the Prime Minister, Dr. Edward Ngirente, while addressing a joint sitting of the Parliament on the achievements of the government in the education sector in line with the National Strategy for Transformation 1. Prime Minister Ngirente briefed both chambers of parliament on different actions the government has taken in the education sector in line with the vision the country has, which is improving the quality of education and social welfare of teachers. The Prime Minister's presentation touched on National Strategy for Transformation 1 programs in education implemented between year 2017 and 2024, which focuses on innovation and propagating their achievements. In his address, the Prime Minister revealed that starting August this year, teachers' salaries will be increased and the government has injected an additional 5 billion Rwandan francs in the Teachers' Savings Cooperative Mwalimu Sacco to improve quality of education through improved teachers' welfare. Dr. Ngirente said that teachers with A0 and A1 degrees will get an increase of 40% and teachers with A2 degrees will get an 88% salary increment. Similarly, salaries for head teachers, deputy head teachers and support staff working in public and government-aided schools have been also revised upwards. These decisions come into force from the payment of the teacher salaries of August 2022. The Prime Minister also announced that the government is harmonizing school fees such that all public schools will be charging the same amount. The scheme for the harmonized fees is expected to be available by the end of August, come into effect with the 2022-2023 academic year. Rwanda has officially opened its embassy in Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. The inauguration is a great milestone reflecting fruitful relations rooted on trade and investment between both countries. The ceremony was attended by Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Rwanda's ambassador in Zimbabwe, and senior government officials from Zimbabwe. Minister Biruta said that collaboration between African countries is paramount to address problems facing the continent. Rwanda only recovers 35% of mined minerals, which by the end of 2021 generated $516 million, according to the Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board. However, to achieve the target of $1.5 billion of revenue from exports by 2024, the Mining Board says it needs at least 60% of recovery rate. Being the country's second largest export revenue earner after tourism, Rwanda's ambition to boost up the sector lies in the local mineral value addition. The mining industry is confident that existing strides such as the gold refinery, tin smelting plant and others in the pipeline like cotton and diamond processing plants will make local ores competitive on international markets. Leonidas Kabandana, Managing Director of Afrimaco Limited, said once the country exports processed minerals at a higher price, even the miner is able to feel the gains in terms of income. Kamandana noted that even other sectors should take note and start exporting processed products whose value translates into shaping a good image of the country on top of a high income generated if done so. François Ntakiyimana, Executive Secretary of COTRAF, a labor union of workers in the mining sector, said that as the country gains these processing plants, the value must also be felt by miners whose income remains low and lack job security because they are considered as informal workers. The Water and Sanitation Corporation says lack of enough water supplies in different parts of the country is partly because of new suburbs cropping up at a faster rate than what the utility body is able to satisfy. Issues of water scarcity have persisted for a while despite of the efforts to address the challenge, including establishing new treatment and distribution facilities and upgrading existing one like Nzove Water Treatment Plant. Unending complaints have only grown, with some claiming to go for weeks without water in their taps. In some city neighborhoods, residents get water once or twice a week, and there are those in some areas which do not access it and resort to consuming untreated water from lakes and other water bodies. The shortage of safe water is also the case in Kigali City, where clean water demand is relatively high given the growing needs of a rising population and increased activities such as factories and sanitation. It's reached a level where WASAC could supply water to some communities by use of mobile tanks. According to WASAC acting CEO Giselle Umuhuza, although there are continued efforts to supply more water to the public, new challenges keep coming up. Currently, WASAC has 21 water treatment plants countrywide that produce 327,000 cubic meters per day. These are supplemented by 1,081 pumping points. Figures from the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, published 2 years ago, indicate that 72% of urban dwellers access water within a distance of 200 meters, while in rural areas, those that get water within a range of 500 meters stand at 56%. According to the figures, there is need for at least 145,000 cubic meters of water to meet the daily water demand for the Kigali city dwellers, but only 1,500 cubic meters are available. However, Giselle said that there is hope that the water supply problem will be eased with the additional Kanzenze water treatment plant in Bugesera district that is expected to add 40,000 cubic meters to the city's water volume. There is need for over 500 buses to help end public transport woes in the city of Kigali, says Emmanuel Katabarwa, the city engineer. The needed 500 buses in the capital should each one carry from between 39 to 70 passengers. He said that from the existing fleet currently on the city roads, there is a deficit of 271 public buses. He noted that they are working with Rwanda Utilities and Regulatory Authority and Rwanda Transport Development Agency so that they can engage existing private transport operators to bring in more buses in the next few weeks, because there might be buses that are lying idle or might not be used efficiently. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded its a turnover of 9,396,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in one deal on the fixed income market and 416,300 Rwandan francs from 7,100 shares traded in two deals on the equities market. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 265,000 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a turnover of 132,500 Rwandan francs from 500 shares traded in one deal. I&M Bank closed the counter at 43 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a turnover of 283,000 Rwandan francs from 6,600 shares traded in one deal. Brego closed the counter at 160 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 177 Rwandan francs, Simirwa at 120 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Chumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.263 and the selling price was 0.269. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,018 and the selling price was 1,039. The British pound buying price was 1,241 and the selling price was 1,266. The euro buying price was 1,042 and the selling price was 1,063.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
The East African Community has announced the appointment of Tanzania's former president, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, to lead its observer group for Kenya's upcoming general elections. The 50-person group will be in Kenya for the polls at the invitation of the country's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to observe the elections. The mission is set to assess the level of preparedness of the key electoral stakeholders for this election, also assess the level of compliance of the electoral processes and management to the international, regional and national established laws, principles and practices. Further, the mission will assess adherence to the democratic principles of the East African Community as enshrined in the treaty and offer objective recommendations for continuous improvement for the conduct of such elections. Uganda has rejected a report by the East African Community Verification Team awarding Tanzania the right to host the East African Community Central Bank, according to Uganda's national television. Uganda's first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for the East African Community Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, has accused the team of fraudulently awarding the East African Community Central Bank to Tanzania rather than Uganda. While all East African Community member states support the establishment of the East African Monetary Institute, which will eventually become the bloc's central bank, not all support the institute's location in Tanzania. According to Uganda's national television, Uganda is not alone in its opposition. Kenya, Rwanda and Burundi are also not enthusiastic about the idea. Kenya and Uganda are questioning the verification process's objectivity. The The East African community spent resources on a professional verification, and thus the outcome should be respected to avoid duplication which overburdens taxpayers, the Tanzanian government said through its East African community representative, according to the Citizen newspaper. In March this year, Tanzania's Finance Minister, Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba, submitted a request at the East African Community Verification Committee for Tanzania to host the East African Monetary Institute. The operationalization of the institute effectively sets the East African community on our journey towards the single currency by 2024, as envisaged in the East African Monetary Union Protocol. In February 2021, the East African Community Council of Ministers, in its meeting in Arusha, Tanzania, directed the partner state that will host institute to cover office rent, office equipment, utilities, and other support for the first 2 years. The first ship carrying Ukrainian grain set out today from the port of Odessa under an internationally brokered deal to unblock the embattled country's agricultural exports and ease the growing global food crisis. The Sierra Leone-flagged cargo ship Razoni sounded its horn as it slowly departed with over 26,000 tons of corn destined for Lebanon. Russia and Ukraine signed agreements in Istanbul with Turkey and the UN on July 22nd, clearing the way for Ukraine to export 22 million tons of grain and other agricultural products that have been stuck in Black Sea ports because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine more than 5 months ago. The deals also allow Russia to export grain and fertilizers. As part of the agreement, safe corridors through the mined waters outside Ukraine's port were established. Sudan has reported its first case of the monkeypox virus detected in West Darfur state. Over 70 countries reported outbreaks of monkeypox, triggering the World Health Organization to declare the epidemic a global health emergency. However, only 3 African countries have reported positive cases, including South Africa, Morocco, and now Sudan. In a statement, the Federal Ministry of Health said that the first case was detected in a 16-year-old student in West Darfur State and confirmed by the National Laboratory for Public Health in Khartoum. Floods in the eastern Ugandan town of Mbale has killed a total of 24 people, with 10 seriously injured. 2 rivers burst their banks after heavy rains caused mudslides, causing widespread damage and forcing hundreds of residents to leave their homes. Joint police, army, and Red Cross teams continue to search for the many people who have been reported missing since the flood waters engulfed homes, bridges, shops, and roads. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.